Hey there, Heather. Ho, there's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Stone Cold Hockey tournament. Well, we're doing the 1970-71 season. We're down to 8 teams, trying to fight for every little bit possible. We'll look at the standings. The standings from the regular season as the Boston Bruins were unfreaking believable, 127 points in 78 games and all that. Their points percentage at 81% of games being in points. No, 81% of possible points. Our Montreal Canadiens, 44 wins, 22 losses, 12 ties. We had some terrible losses to Pittsburgh and the Rangers that cost us second place, which would have given us home ice advantage, but we didn't. So the Rangers are the second seed. We're 3. Toronto's number 4. Buffalo didn't do that bad. Like 13 games below 500, 65 points. Vancouver 58 points, and the dead things 44 points. In the meantime, Chicago, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and St. Louis are the teams in the West. Chicago 111 points. Minnesota just ahead of Pittsburgh for second, and St. Louis missed by 1 point. 29 wins, but not enough because ties really meant a lot. So the bracket, well, it says so. What the NHL did was have 1 versus 3 in the East Division, and then 2 versus 4. Which was weird. If it was 1 versus 4, we would be in New York, but they would have the home ice, and then Toronto would have the been at the University of Boston, and then Chicago would host St. Louis. Great Midwestern battle. Minnesota and Pittsburgh would battle each other. So anyway, we're gonna do the Boston Montreal series, of course, because after all, why not? Anyway, so Minnesota St. Louis game one sees Minnesota win 2-0 on home ice. Manigo with the shutout over Wakely, Drouin, Burns. Excellent with the goals. Toronto went to New York and wins in overtime. Palm Beach document. Rangers were up 2-0 on goals by Roger Bear and Ronnie Stewart, but Billy McMillan scored in the first, and then George Armstrong, a power play overtime heroics by Normie Ullman from Rick Lay and Jim Dory at 123. Meanwhile, Chicago crushed Pittsburgh 6-3 as Espel took down Al Smith. Pittsburgh goals by Police Apsenchenko, Apps Jr., I must say. Chicago goals by Pitt Martin, Dan Maloney, Lewin Gotti, Chico Mackey, Keith Magnuson, and Bobby Hall. 6 different guys. So now we go to Boston. Our game one starter is Phil Meyer against Gary Cheever. Surprise, surprise, but yeah. Phil Meyer, the future Flames guy, with sharing with Dan Bouchard and Rogie Vachon, who is our main guy. His claim to fame is with the Kings. 71 went Dryden was good. Rogie went to LA and then he went to Detroit and Boston. Ken Dryden, of course, the 6'4" for guy. Well, Boston going with Jerry Cheever's not Eddie Johnston and all that. We have Yvonne Roadrunner Cornway, Pistol Pete Mahavlich, Jacques Lemaire, Jelena Jean Belleville, Mark Tartif, the Big M Frank Mahavlich, John Ferguson Sr., the policeman, Point 2, Guy Lapointe, Bill Roberto, Henri Pocket Rocket Richard, J.C. Tremblay, Carl Rose, Rajon Peanut Hool, Bobby Sheehan, Serge Salard, the senator, Leon Rushford, Terry Harper, Larry Plow, Chuck LaPerriere, and Pierre Bouchard. They have Phil Esposito, the chief Johnny Busick, Ken Hodge Sr., number 4 Bobby Orr, Pi McKenzie, Derek Sanderson, who blew all his money and was on a park bench in Niagara Falls until Bobby Orr found him. Ed Westfall, future Islander, Fred Stanfield, Wayne Carlton Banks, Wayne Crashman, Donnie Marquette, Dallas Smith, Ted Green, who spent the previous season injured because of that stick swing incident with Wayne Mackey. Don Olery, Rick Smith, Mike Shaker-Walter, Reggie Leach, pre-Flyers, Ace Bailey, not the Leafs player, but the guy who died on 9/11, kid you not, and Bill Spear. Here we go. 3 minutes into the first period, they have a chance. McKenzie stopped by Meyer. Then 2 minutes later, Enforcer. There's a fight. It's Ferguson and Hodge. For us, it works out. Ferguson gets Hodge Sr. out of there. Then we get penalized. It's Harper. Couple Pirates will go. Derek Sanderson from Craftsman makes it right. And then a minute later, let's go! From Clyde McKenzie and Bobby Orr makes it 2-0. Top 4 point scores. Much later. Agitators, They give us 3 hits, but we get we are agitated. And Mahavlich for 2. It's yours! Papa Papa Number 4, Bobby Orr from freaking Dallas. No. 2 minutes later. Johnny the Chief Music, the second from Rick Smith and Crashman. We're in trouble. We're down 4 freaking nothing. Fuck it, I'm putting Dryden in. 4 minutes into the game. Chutsky Oars! Me. Cornwall from Ferguson and Rushford makes it 1-4. Much later. From Cashman. 3 assists from Cashman today. Wow, he's passing the puck. Much later. There's another fight. It's Tardif and Aubrey. So Aubrey kind of gets one of our main offensive guys. So be it. Chance for Hodge. No, Dryden stopped him. Mercer. There's another hit and no penalty. Thank goodness. We're down 5-1. We're in trouble. No shot for Moore. Wow. Expo delivers a hit. 5 minutes later. It's yours! Fighting the Sky McKenzie from Hodge and Music. It's yours! Number 4, Bobby Orr. That's a second from McKenzie and Music. 7-1. Much later. Sanderson. Can we at least score? No. We got ripped. 7-1. Boston. I'll show you the major stat for Boston, but yeah. We got butt whipped. 7-1. Yikes. Show you the standings. Look at Boston's home mark. 32-0-7. We were only 1 game above 500 on the road. 32-0-7. Well, they never lose. Anyway, game 2, Minnesota St. Louis. Minnesota's now halfway home, up 5-2. Manigo beats Hall. St. Louis did score twice. Ungoing Sutherland. It goes Grant, Harvey. Busher Harvey with a hat trick in Hampton. Well, Grant's got the 50-goal scorer who scored, but Busher Harvey with a hat trick? Who's he? Rangers win 5-1 to restore normalcy. Jackman over Perrant. Guy Trottier scored a goal for Toronto, but the Rangers go Bruce McGregor, well, Kachuk, Kitchener, Jean Bertel, Bruce McGregor again, and then Stamkowski, the former Leaf, trying to do it to his former team. Pittsburgh wins 5-2 in Chicago to split. Binkley beats Desjardins. Chicago goes by Pitt Martin and Des Hall, but Pittsburgh goes by Prentice, Brian Hextall, Wally Boyer, and then Prentice for the hat trick. So now 7-1. And Phil Meyer back in that against Johnston. I'm actually surprised they put Phil Meyer in, but they're like, well, maybe he'll do better this time. We shall see. That's yours! Shake it up! Nice Shaker Walton from Esco and Orr. Where's that? Is that it? The ledge. Chance for Cashman? No. And Hodge cannot take the shot. Okay. Much later. No shot from Ricky Smith. Much later. That's for Busick. Stopped by Meyer. Well, Meyer does better in the first 20 minutes in this game than he did last time. He gives up only 1 goal this time. 2 minutes later. That's for Hodge. No. What a stop. He's in the zone. Auto zone. That might help us. Chutsky Oars, I sure did. Pistol Pete Mahavlich ties her up from Lemaire and Laperriere. The 2 shots. Much later. Mahavlich delivers a hit. A few minutes later. Chutsky Oars. That's Fred Stanford. Fred Stanfield from Mackenzie and Orr. 2-1. 4 minutes later. Cardiff. No shot from Espo. And we kill the zone. We're only down 2-1, so we're not dead. Killing the clock. Cool. Peanut. A fight between Mahavlich and Smith. So we got Rick Smith out of there. I thought it was Dallas Smith. It was Pete Mahovlich. Well, unfortunately for us, he's one of our best players. I didn't pay for it. The Chiefs use that to score goal or empty net. Anderson right there from Espo and Bailey to 4-1. So, boy, we are really in trouble. We are deep in trouble. We've only scored 2 goals in Boston in 2 games. But we're on home ice for games 3 and 4, so no problems. Game 3. St. Louis beats Minnesota. Minnesota up 2-0, but they lose 4-3 as Wakely beats Worsley. Minnesota was up 2-0. Harvey got another goal, his 4th, then Grant, then Hampson. But St. Louis goes by Unger, Jim Lorenz, Kitchener, Terry Crispin, Fran Huck. What the fuck? We traded him away. Rangers go to Toronto win 4-3. Then we beat Perrant. Toronto was up 2-0, goes by Pellick and Keon, and then Jim Dory also scored, but Ranger goes by Roger Bear, Ted Irvin, break the walls down! Roger Bear, and then Kachuk, Kitchener with the winning goal. Pittsburgh beats Chicago 3-1. Big win for them. Binkley beat Espo. Bobby Hall scored, but Prentice, McCreary, and Zane. Dr. Sayers scored 3. Pittsburgh's up 2-1. Wow, this is fucking amazing. So we go home to face Boston, and we will put Rogie in the net against Cheevers this time. Might as well put Rogie. 4 minutes later. Set for us, set survive. No. 6 minutes later. We deliver a hit. Much later again. Chance for Boston. Tear to the boo. Espo does him to the playoffs. Sees par Stanfield and Westfall. The series eliminate. And we're now 1-0 after 20 minutes. Much later. Boston chance. Oh, he's rattled. Damn it. Boston with 2. Hodge for 2. Can we take advantage? Oh man, Ferguson. Rocher had a chance. Ferguson. Open ice, no action. No shot from Carlton either. 2 minutes later. Eliminate. Assist par Ferguson. 5 minutes later. Freshman. Boston. And it's Marcotte. Do we have a chance? Ferguson missed. Oh, fantastic. Premier. Eliminate. Cispar Tremblay and Le Perrier. 2-1 for us. 4 minutes later. Action. Dallas Smith. Do 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 do. I can't remember the Dallas theme song. Bobby Orr with his 5th assist. This guy's on fire. 3 minutes later. He always got bumped. Much later. Boston Tibboo. Ken Hodge Senior. Hodge Funds. His first from Sanderson and Orr. 3-2. Empty net opportunities now. Buzek puts it in from Aubrey and Espo. 4-2. Oh, great. We're dead. Well, we get scored twice. We were up 2-1. Damn it. Well, we've only scored 4 goals on those guys. St. Louis has put 6 up, and they're trailing. Chicago's put up 9, and Toronto's put up 7. We've only put up 4. We're in deep trouble. Minnesota beats St. Louis 4-2. They're 1 win away. Worsley beats Hull. St. Louis goes by St. Marcel and Sabrin, but Laboisson, Goldsworthy, Waterloo, Laboisson, and Danny Grant scoring for the Nurses. Rangers win 4-1. They're up 3-1. Jackman over Perrant. Keon scored by Ballin, Irvin, break the walls down, and Walkachuk, Kitchener, and Jean Rattel makes it 4-1. And Chicago-Pittsburgh, it's a tie. Chicago 6-3, so it's 2-2. Best of 3 now. Espo over Smith. Pitt goes by Brian Hextall, Schenkel, and Bathgate. Good guy. Chicago goes by Magnuson, Bobby, Coral, Denny. So we're up. We're down 3-0. They want Meyer against Johnston. Well, we have nothing to play for. We might as well put Dryden in the net. He hasn't started yet. I mentioned in the game. We have a chance, Mahovlich. What are you doing, man? 5 more minutes. Aggression. Marcotte. That's nearly at the 50 party. Premier to the series assist by Andre Richard and Frank Mahavlich. Finally, they're getting on the board. But Boston strikes Espo, his third Esposito, or with a 7 assist 1-1 tie. 5 minutes later, a battle. Rocket of all people. Chance for Boston, they score. Sanderson, power play goal from Oren Espo makes it 2-1. Oh boy. We're down 2-1 after 20 minutes. That's our 5th goal. Battle? Hey, James Carlson for 2. Mahalich, damn it. 44. That's number 8. Third from Cardiff and Harry Harper. We've scored 6 goals against Boston, 3 of them by Cornway. Much later. Enforcer? There's a fight. And it's Hodge and Ferguson fighting, so we actually do well. Ferguson, the policeman, Ken Hodge Sr. is in the box. But Espo tries to make it 3-2 and fails. So no harm, no foul. And that's Ken Hodge. Who was hoping to him to the series for Cornway. 3-2. 4 minutes later. A fellow misses. Ken Hodge. What a stop by the bleeping octopus. 2 minutes later. They have a chance. Dallas, no. 4 minutes later. Nevchetsky or Esposito, his second of the night from Dallas Smith, 3-3. 5 minutes later. Pete Mahavlich. Empty net. That's all scored. Slap shot. Fred Stanfield from Busick. Do. Guess what? 4-4, we go to overtime. If we score, we at least force a game 5. If they score, we get swept, and I will cry. Battle, aggression. Chance for Ferguson. Oh. 2 minutes later, battle. And we get penalized. Harper, damn it. Cashman, no, we missed. Oh, no. Number 4, Bolior sinks us from Ted Green and Rick Smith. And it's 5-4 Boston. We are out in 4 straight. This team, Boston getting fucking revenge. Took 66 minutes. Dryden tried, but he fails. Ooh, boy. Well, let's take a look at our stats. Our playoff stats. Meyer 0-2 with a 5-3, 4 goals against. Dryden 0-1 with a 3.96 goals against. And Fashion 0-1 with a 3.09 goals against. Cornway with 5 points. Pete Mahavlich 3. Tardif, Ferguson, Rochefort, Bill Perrier 2. Lemaire, Mahavlich, Henri Tremblay, and Harper with 1 each. We only had 4 guys score a goal. Cornway scored 4. Pete Mahavlich 2. Tardif and Rochefort 1. We only scored 8 goals on Boston. Fuck. They have a 2.0 goals against. Well, actually, a little less because of overtime. Boston. Johnston 2-0, Cheevers 2-0. Bobby Orr 11 points. He had more points than we had goals, 8. Esposito and Busick had as many points as we had goals. McKenzie and Sanderson with 4 points. Stanfield, Cashman, Dallas Smith with 3. Hodge and Smith with 2. Rick Smith 2. Westball, Ted Green, Aubrey, Mike Walton, and Ace Bailey with at least a point. We got our asses handed to us. 4 against the nut. Minnesota in Game 5 loses in overtime. Wayne Connolly scores in overtime. Hall beats Gilles Gilbert, and we get a Game 6 back in St. Louis. Toronto survives in overtime. Perron over Jackman. Ron Ellis scored, and then Dave Ballin scored. Overtime, 32 seconds. Normie Ullman, second goal of the series, second overtime goal from Armstrong and McMillan. And Pittsburgh wins in overtime again. All 4 Game 5s were won. All 4 Game 4s were, well, sorry, I guess I shouldn't say. 4 straight wins by the road team in overtime. Pittsburgh, Andy Bathgate from McCreary and Schenko scored off of Desjardins. So St. Louis, it is Minnesota winning 4-1. Manico doing his job St. Marcel scored for St. Louis, but then Lauzon, Goldsworthy, Waterloo, Drouin, and JP Parise scoring, and the North Stars take down the Blues in 6. Rangers take out the Leafs in 6, 3-1, just like in real life, but this time the Rangers don't need overtime. Leafs goal by Paul Henderson off of Jackman, but Perron gives up goals to Glenn Saver, yes, that asshole, Bob Nevin, and Will Kachuk. Kitchener, 4 goals. Pittsburgh beat Chicago 3-2. Big job by Pittsburgh to shock Chicago. Binkley beats Esposito. Chicago goes by Chico and Dennis Hall. McCreary, Harborough, and Wojtowicz for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh with a massive shock. So it was just business as usual. Let's take a look at the summary right now. Goal scoring, 8 different players with 4 goals. Assists wise, Orr's number 1, Drouin with 6 assists. Points wise, Orr's at 11, Bobby Hall 9, Espo Busick with 8 points. Too bad for Bobby Hall. Phil Meyer 5.34. It's weird how Fashion, Desjardins, and Dryden had better goals against than a guy who won a game, and that was Al Smith for Pittsburgh. It's been basically the Les Binkley show. Yeah, it's been the Les Binkley show, if you will, of all people. So it goes East versus West, East versus West. So Boston will face Minnesota, Rangers, Pittsburgh. Oh boy, we could see an original 6 final. Game 1 for Boston sees them lose in overtime. Really? Boston scored with Ty McKenzie. Then Walt McKechnie, future Leaf, scored. And in overtime, Dennis O'Brien at 4:52 from Russo and Drouin on the power play. Who is the jerk? McKenzie for spearing. At least there was 2. Rangers won on home turf 4-2 over Pittsburgh. Binkley losing the Fermune. Pittsburgh goes by Jean Pronovo and Still Apps Jr. Rangers goes by Kachuk, Kitchener, Ted Irvin. Break the walls down. Davey Bellin, and then Kachuk again. Kitchener. Man, Kachuk could make me happy. The Rangers would win game 2, 5-4. Jackman over Smith. Pittsburgh goes by Police, Still Apps Jr., Shock, and Schinkel. Ranger goes by Ted Irvin. Break the walls down. Ted Irvin, break the walls. Ron Stewart, Sean Rattel, Pete Stamkowski, and then Sean Rattel. Boston does get normalcy, winning 4-2 as Johnson beats Gilles Chabert, future Bruin. Minnesota goes by Danny Grant, 2 for 6. Stanfield, Busick, McKenzie, and then Wayne Carleton scoring for Boston. Game 3 sees Boston go to Minnesota, narrowly win 5-4. Cheapers over Chabert. They were up 3-0 and almost blew it. Minnesota goes by McKechnie, Danny Grant. Danny Grant now has 8 goals, and Jude Drouin. Man, Danny Grant's on fire. Boston goes by Busick, Sanderson, Cashman, and Orr. Espo's not really scoring goals. That's weird. Rangers beat Pitt 4-3 to go up 3-0 as Jackman beats Smith. Pittsburgh goes by Sean Pronovo, Dwayne Rupp, and Pronovo again. Rangers go by Davey Ballin, Pete Stamkowski, Glenn Saver, that asshole, and Raj Gilbert. Rangers, do they sweep Pittsburgh? They do, 5-2. As Vermeulen beats Smith, Pittsburgh goes by Sean Pronovo with 2. He's done well, but the Rangers goals. Terrible Irvin. Break the walls down. Pete Stamkowski, Sean Rattel, Dave Ballin, and Bruce McGregor empty netter, and the Rangers sweep Pittsburgh. They've been on fire, these Rangers. 8-2. The Leafs gave them a bit of pause, but they sweep Pittsburgh. Jackman 5-2, Vermeulen 3-0. Welkachuk 12 points. Sean Rattel 11. So yeah, Welkachuk's been on fucking fire. Kitchener should be happy. Game 4, Minnesota wins 3-2. Big win. Manico over Cheevers. Boston goes by Stanfield and Busick, but Minnesota goes by Goldsworthy, Waterloo, Drouin, and Charlie Burns. Excellent. I guess. That was the best of 3. And Boston wins 5-4. Worsley losing to Johnston. Minnesota was up 3-2. Danny Grant with his 9th. O'Brien, Barry Gibbs, not from the Bee Gees, and Danny Grant, 10 goals. The first to 10 goals in the playoffs, Danny Grant of all people. Boston goes by Rick Smith, Espo with his 5th, Stanfield, Sanderson, and Cashman. Sanderson scored more than Espo does. I think everyone was looking for Espo. Does Boston win game 6? They do, 5-1. Cheevers over Manico. JP scored for Minnesota, but Boston scored. Sanderson or Westfall, and then 2 by Wayne Carleton to ice it. So Boston's been on fucking fire. They're 8-2, just like the Rangers. Cheevers 4-1, Johnston 4-1, or 18 points. Yikes. Busick with 14, Espo with 13. Bobby Orr. Danny Grant scored 10 goals. He's the only guy who's got double digits, and the only guy ahead of 8. As Busick and Sanderson, shut it, with 7 goals. Assists or Drouin Espo for Drew Drouin. Points wise, Bobby Orr with 18. The best guy's 14. Bobby Orr's been on fire. Manico's got the best goals against, but he seems not. Jackman's second in um, goals against. Cheever's third, Johnston fourth. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. The Rangers and Bruins played each other tough, I think. I wonder how Boston did against the Rangers. Can I see? May I see? Schedule? May I see? Rangers. They beat them 4-1. Tie 3-3. Tie 4-4. 3-1. So 2-0-2. 3-0-2, 4-0-2. So 4 wins and 2 ties against them. Boston is on home ice. Wait, why are the Rangers at home? That's kind of weird. Okay, whatever. Boston wins in overtime. Cheapers are from you. Rangers were up 4-0, and they lost. Hatfield, Rattel, Ballin, and then Kachuk, Kitchener. Boston goes by Stanfield, Busick, and Pie McKenzie. Overtime, Espo on the power play because Russia Bear got POS for hooking from Ken Hodge. 5-4. Rangers come back and make it 3-0. Shut up by Jackman. Vic Hatfield scored twice. Finally, remember, he's a goal scorer, and Russia Bear scores 2. Game 3 sees the Rangers win in overtime 4-3 as Jackman beats Johnston. Boston goes by Shaker, Walter, Stanfield, and Espo. Ranger goes by Davey Ballin, Walt Kachuk, Kitchener, and Dave Ballin. And then Walt Kachuk, of all people, Kitchener, bitches, his 9th. Game 4 sees the Rangers win 3-1 from Marine Overachievers. Boston goal by Busick, but McGregor, Gilbert, and Bobby Nevin. This isn't happening. It did. It happened. Boston got their butts handed to them by the New York freaking Rangers. 7-2. Johnston. Boston's like, what the fuck? How did Boston do that? How did the Boston freaking Bruins choke to the New York freaking Rangers? They had not lost to the Rangers all year. Hodge and Busick scored. By the Ranger goals, Vic Hatfield, Bruce McGregor, Rod Gilbert, Davey Ballin, Bruce McGregor. Terrible Ted Irvin, break the walls down. And then to add insult to injury, Ballin scored. So the Rangers win 7-2 in game 5, and Boston can't believe it. They won the first game and then lost the next 4. Boston was looking to crush everyone in their path, including our Montreal Canadiens. But the Rangers win. The Rangers win. How about that? Boston's like, how did we screw that up? Johnston wasn't the answer. Cheevers was. Bobby Orr, 19 points. Busick, 18. Phil Esposito, 15. But the Rangers, the champions. Jackman, 8-2. Philman, 4-1. Look at Jackman's goals against. 183. Boom. Walkachuk, 20 points. I think he's MVP. Not because he was a Kitchener Ranger, but 20 points, man. Sean Rattel was 17, Ballin 15. But no, I think it's Jackman. It has to be Jackman. It has to be Jackman. Without Ed Jackman's 183 goals against, they're not that powerful. But yeah, Ed Jackman is your hero. The New York Rangers shocked the world and beat the Boston Bruins for the second straight time and the second time in 3 playthroughs. The New York Rangers are the champs. The 65 champs for Montreal, but the Rangers win their second straight championship. I think Jim Schmiedenberg and Eddie Geiger are trying to tell me something creepy. It's like, ooh. Peter, those are Cheerios. Nevertheless, the New York freaking Hockey Rangers, 43, 19, and 16 in the regular season, put 4 losses on the Boston Bruins, who only had 8 losses the year. Boston had only 8 losses the whole year, and now the Rangers put 4 of them on Boston. And Boston only conceded a couple points against the Rangers. Unreal. The regular season and the playoffs are 2 different things. I agree full-heartedly. Jackman's 183 goals against, second behind Menico, but Menico was 5-1. But yeah, Cheevers was third. But yeah, they should have put Cheevers in more. But it doesn't matter. The New York Hockey Rangers are your champions for 1970-71. Take it with a grain of salt. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.